Joining me now is Lee Merritt. He's the attorney for Ronald Green's family and estate. He's the founder of the Merritt Law Firm. Lee, thank you for joining me. The videos we have do not, as I just told the viewers, do not tell the full story because some of the body cameras were turned off. Ronald Green was not the first. He unfortunately is not going to be the last person to die during a police encounter where original official statements on the event were then proven to be total lies by the release of cell phone or body cam footage. You represented George Floyd's family, who received a sliver of justice when the cop who killed him was convicted. What happens here?
Well, hopefully the same thing that happened in Minnesota. In Minnesota, the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, saw that the state had already failed. And he saw that within a few months of George Floyd's death, actually within a few days. Here it's been 2 years, and how miserably the state has failed is open to the public now. It should be a national embarrassment for the state of Louisiana, and it requires that the top law enforcement official there, the Attorney General Jeff Landry, take some immediate action to ensure that all the officers who were involved in not only this violent arrest that resulted in Ronald Green's death, but everybody who was involved in the cover-up, the supervisors, previous prosecutors who refused to bring charges forward, that they be held accountable as well.
You know, when you listen to the video, the fantastic part about this is the degree to which they said he died in a car crash. They completely lied about it. So whether or not the police feel that there was any merit in using the force that they used on him, which, by the way, the Louisiana State Police say is justified, there is an underlying lie here that has been hidden from the public for 2 years, all the way through George Floyd, all the way through the biggest movement since the civil rights movement. These Louisiana officials knew they had this video that was going to be explosive and prove that their police were liars.
And they're talking out of both sides of their neck. While they say that they believe that the use of force was justified, they also fired one of the officers who then went on to die in a single car accident hours after he learned that he had been terminated. They gave someone else a 50-hour suspension. That would be Trooper Corey York, who used his foot to hold Ronald Green into a prone position, one that would limit his ability to breathe. And of course, the state police has repeatedly apologized to the family, not only for the lie, but for the open brutalization. If you look at that video in its entirety, you will not see a man who is resisting. You will not see a man who is not complying. You'll see a man who is scared, who repeatedly says, "I'm sorry, I'm scared, I'm your brother." And if the use of force is justified, if Louisiana State Police believe that kind of use of force is justified, then there needs to be a pattern and practice into the entire state of Louisiana investigation so that we can get their standard of treatment on par with the Constitution.
And that is the kind of thing people call for, and that is the kind of thing that this Department of Justice feels should happen. So what does the next step look like? What is the pursuit of justice? Because I will mention that the police have already adjudicated this and made certain recommendations. One, as you said, one trooper was terminated and died the same day that he found that information out. Others faced some suspensions and termination. But it was not this overall. This is dirty policing at its best, and this felt like lynching. That has not been adjudicated appropriately, I think.
That's right. It's going to require federal oversight, and the Union Parish District Attorney, Mr. Belton, did immediately refer this over to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And so we expect an aggressive investigation and prosecution from the federal government. But we also leave the impetus, the onus on Louisiana itself. The people of Louisiana and their elected officials have to uphold their state codes. And this action is in violation of those state codes. And so the next push is for Mr. Belton, and the family met with Mr. Belton yesterday. We asked for state charges, and he seemed committed to pursuing avenues for both state accountability and federal accountability. Without accountability, it's not enough to bemoan this terrible thing and, hey, there's a new video. Without accountability, we're going to see the same thing occurring over and over again.
Right.
And so that's the push.
That's right. You use the term accountability. It's not justice. Justice would be if Ronald Green were not dead. But there is some ability to get accountability in this thing. I just want to remind everybody that he died on May 10th of 2019. And yesterday we got more video that they were holding on to. That is not the way the world is supposed to turn. Lee, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Lee Merritt is the lawyer representing the Green family and the founder of the Merritt Law Firm.